right, Job chapter 39. Let's call this one, what do you know about the creatures within the creation that we talked about in the last chapter? Because in this chapter, God is going to pick up on that point that he left off on in the previous chapter, where he asked Job, can you provide prey for the lion, or things as simple or small as the crows and the ravens? But more than that, what can you tell me about the places where the mountain goats give birth, or the calving of the doe or deer? Understanding that beyond those questions, there are plenty of other questions that Job would not be able to answer about the creatures that he's probably around all the time. Questions like, okay, who freed the wild donkey, and why is it not so easy to domesticate? A term that I'm imposing on the chapter, but is going to be a theme that God is going to seem to continue to develop as he asks Job what he knows about the wild ox, as opposed to the type of oxen that lend themselves to farm labor. Why can't you so much domesticate them? And beyond that, the ostrich. What do you know about the ostrich? And even though it does not seem to be the wisest of creatures in the way that it treats its young, it laughs at both horse and rider when they mount up to pursue. But the horse, that's one that you can actually control. But understand how even the horse exposes your limits as a man, because the horse does not share a man's fears on the battlefield, and it does not turn away from the sword the way that men can, when sometimes even the mightiest of men can be afraid in battle. He's going to say not so much the horse. Beyond that, what do you know about the hawk? And beyond the hawk, does the eagle mount up at your command? Probably not, Job. And so in this series of questions, God goes on to talk about the ways in which man has been given authority over the animals, but there are limits to the types of animals that men can easily domesticate, and those that they can simply struggle to both understand and control, helping us to understand the ways in which both the creation and the creatures within it provide us sobering reminders of the limits to our own power. And why is that important? Well, as God is counseling Job to fixate not so much on, like we said, the types of things that he might have been enamored by as he was a powerful man at the gate, influential in his own sphere. Sometimes wisdom and sobriety beyond drink comes from us having a firm grip on all the things that lie outside of our control. Which reminded me once again that when God offers us lessons in humility, it's rarely, if ever, just to bring us down a notch, but there's a larger point, and that reminded me of those animal trainers. I think it's Siegfried and Roy, who were in the habit of doing Vegas shows with wild animals. And this is not to slight what they're doing, because hats off to people whose jobs require courage, especially courage on a daily basis. But for all of the rest of us, or for all of us for that matter, ultimately, when God is giving us reminders in nature about things that we can domesticate easily, as opposed to that larger sphere of creation that don't domesticate quite so easily, one of the things that he is reminding us is that life is tough enough trying to manage the things that God has put within our control, but we quite possibly take on an unnecessary degree of frustration, to the degree that our hearts carry us away into places where we want to control portions of not just the creation, but parts of life that aren't easily domesticated.